Well, everyone, it is time. Sonic Adventure 2. Oh my god. I love this game. This game it's not only my childhood, but it's something more than that. It's something that I still love to this day. I think it's my second favorite game of all time. And why is that? I think I've never played a game where I have played games where the plot was really good, but the plot moves so organically and fluidly, and you really feel like the story complements Sonic, and the fact that as you're moving forward, there's all these moving parts, all these pieces. You have the A story, the B story, the C story, and the enemy stories. And in fact, you have all 6 stories in one, which is each side of Team Dark and Team Hero or something. Sorry, I'm thinking of Sonic Heroes. And in any case, not only do they refine a lot of the movement from Adventure DX, but now things, you're able to go really fast and able to slow down a lot for those sections without it feeling weird and inorganic. For me, in terms of gameplay, this is honestly peak Sonic gameplay in the 3D space, because it feels like you can go super fast. You feel like you have a lot of control over your speed. And there's just like really cool level design. And this was kind of made by Sonic Team America before they kind of were, for lack of a better word, disbanded and then I think shut down. There's a whole story about that where it's linked to how the Dreamcast essentially wasn't selling very well. And so what happened was they had to close down their American office, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but it's something along those lines. And so that's why in this opening sequence, you see a lot of the infrastructure of San Francisco. You see a lot more, American Sonic, kind of like, he's got an attitude. He's not, the cute little mascot that we're used to. And, this iconic start level city escape, even the intro, the dialogue, the music, everything. Sonic is cocky, talking about in-flight movies, and he treats his whole arrest by, special forces as if it's a minor inconvenience. There's something about, the characterization of Sonic in this style that is so, would come to be so iconic for him. So this time, instead of having 6 different stories to choose from, you only have 2 with 3 characters in each, which is a nice way of streamlining it. So you're never really double backing or like doing an extra, level or something, or going back on story. But what you are doing is you're having different gameplay thrown at you constantly. So you have the Sonic and Shadow stages, which are speed based. Then you have the Knuckle Rouge stages, which are, about treasure hunting for the Chaos Emeralds, and then finally you have the Tails and Eggman stages, which are the mech stages, which you just shoot everything and blow everything up, and those are a nice kind of break in betweens. But again, everything is very action oriented in this game. Everything is based around speed and momentum, and kind of creating this sense of progress. Again, the sound effects are amazing in this game. And the biggest thing, of course, is the introduction of Shadow the Hedgehog, the cooler anti-hero to the cool-looking hedgehog. The balancing of the writing, the foil characters, the archetypes in this game are just absolutely perfect. They're absolutely so well balanced, and what really boosts them, I think, is that each character has a theme song. Each character has a different style of musical genre, and not only the songs improved from Adventure 1, but now they sound much better in terms of their compositions, and the fact that Shadow is introduced as this evil, black, dark, emo kind of hedgehog who has an edge over Sonic, and he's able to actually use the Chaos powers. Suddenly we have all of these things where the Chaos Emeralds are not just things that make you more powerful, but they can do specific things like Chaos Control and Chaos Spear and all this other stuff. And then you also have GUN, Government of United Nations, which kind of, and it starts the running joke that no one can differentiate, Sonic from any other hedgehog because he keeps getting blamed for everything. And again, the way the pacing is done, the way these scenes are actually composed, it stops with Sonic getting arrested, and it doesn't spend any time or waste any time. It jumps right into Rouge and Knuckles arguing over whose Chaos Emerald this is, and it's kind of like these almost feel like one shots in a mini series. Like the pacing again, like things are just happening, and Eggman in this one, he also has a much more rounded out character. It's much more understandable what his motivations are, and he's much more comical and silly. He also has a better design, graphically now. And I love the fact that Knuckles is so stupid and so dumb that he shatters his own emerald in order to stop Eggman from taking it, and then his entire mission is to put it back together since that time, since that point in the game. The characterization is so distinct and unique and just direct that you don't have to wait for the characters to reveal who they are to you. They immediately come up and show themselves who they are in the midst of the drama. And Rouge is a great addition. Shadow's a great addition, and they act as the anti-heroes and the foils to the good characters. The Knuckles stages, honestly, I never really liked those because it was always really just frustrating. Okay, where is this emerald, or is hiding in the weirdest spot ever? And then your score is just based on where, just memorizing all the locations so that when you start the match, you can just find it immediately, because you get the highest score based on how fast you just find it. So as long as you memorize locations, that's how you do it. So those missions can last very long if you've never played them, like friggin' the space mission. Oh my god. And some of them can last very quickly if you just memorize locations. And the locations are different for every time you load the stage, but more or less there's only so many places they can put them. For Sonic stages, it's a bit more straightforward. You just have to do it as fast as possible. And for the Tails and Eggman stages, I think it's based on kill count or something. I'm not actually sure how those work. And again, we can see that Tails, has his transformed tornado. It's more of a mech now. And that's great that they brought this back, because it is so much fun playing as Gamma in the first game that they just brought that gameplay back as the main element. And thank God they got rid of the fishing, Big the Cat and Amy levels. Those were just not fun at all. Again, the music and presentation and all of these scenes, they're so direct and have such a unique essence that it's almost feels like a anime movie plot, the way it just like moves so quickly and gets directly into the heart of what the essence of the characters are. And again, I think it's just like such a masterpiece in this regard. I've never played anything like this where it just was I don't know, so direct and fun. And of course, the dialogue is classic in these lines in these games. I can recite them all in my head. Honestly, they're just something about it that just came together and just everything worked. And the other thing too is there's a lot of allusions to lore. You have Shadow, who's based on the Ultimate Life Form. And if you recall in Adventure 1, there were these murals showing Sonic defeating Chaos. So it's like, okay, did Gerald know about, the Chaos mythology and the ancient civilization and how the Chaos Emeralds work? How did he even create Shadow? The whole thing 50 years ago with Maria, like the story in Adventure 2 is just so revved up and so much more intense than Adventure 1 that it really feels a lot different and way more intense and appropriate. And again, I think the big thing that I take away from this game is not only the music, and I mean the main theme, Live and Learn, the intro thing, the art design, everything is just so beautifully stylized and so well done. Another thing that of course people remember from this game is the Chao Garden. The Chao Garden was something that I think people were like, oh, this is so cool. You would pick up the items in the stages and then you would bring it into the Chao Garden and you could basically train your chows to have a certain variable or aesthetic. And it's funny that people keep asking Sonic Team to bring this back, and they won't for whatever reason. They just thought, well, that's not what people want. People want classic Sonic. They really don't know what to do, honestly, is what my feeling is, sadly. These mech levels, though, as Tails and Eggman, are super, super fun, because they're, even though you're in a slower mech, just being able to lock on and shoot everything just feels amazing, feels great. Even though it's different from the traditional Sonic formula, I love these stages. They're great. And on the lore front, you now have, this whole thing about Maria. You now have the whole thing about the GUN is now a thing. And it feels like the world is so much more defined now, and so much more different and interesting. And I remember as a kid in probably middle school, these levels and the music from the Sonic Adventure games was always on my little iPod or MP3 player. It was always present, essentially, and it really formed, honestly, my taste in music. I know that might be an odd thing to say, but honestly, the music in these games really kind of became my standard for music. It was kind of like rock and roll, So of course, I was very much into Linkin Park, but this whole aesthetic of very happy progressive rock or whatever was kind of what really formed me, musically, as a young person. And still today, I still love these songs. They're just fun to listen to. They're just good songs, and of course, the character themes. Everything from Metal Harbor to even this one. The event soundtracks are actually really. They just have so much character. They have so much liveliness and life in them. And all of these cutscenes, they just get to the point. I love them so much. They're just so direct. And again, everything moves so fast and so much stuff happens. There are still upgrades in this game where Sonic can pick them up to let some light dash and, bounce. You get to see that, I don't know, at some point, Sonic Team was very much obsessed with the ancient Egyptians and pyramids. You'll see this in Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2. They have a dedicated pyramid Egyptian level. I'm sure closely related, you have Jet Set Radio, where you have, an entire Egyptian mummy gang. I don't know what it is about, ancient civilizations, but they're really, really into this in this era. And I love that. And again, even here in, one of the scenes where Amy is releasing Sonic out of the prison, on the walls is all of the stuff that Gerald Robotnik wrote down. So there's all these little hints where everything's actually all connected in the story. And it's just so smart how it's done. And it's never really brought up, but it's like, oh, when you see Gerald Robotnik, you're like, oh, that's the cell Sonic was in. And so there's all these little things that are really implied. It's a very fresh, unique, and fun take on the storytelling method that I really appreciate. And again, this level, Metal Harbor, is, oh my god, it's one of my favorites. You have the jets flying around that are all crazy. This was peak early 2000s gaming. This was just absolutely a blast to play, because you have the movement is all correct, you have the speed is all correct, you're figuring out the mechanics of the game, and you have like the blasting music in the background. This to me is peak Sonic. I absolutely adore and love this. And what they also added in this game, I forgot, was grinding. That was a new thing back at the time. So you would grind on these rails. And for those of you who remember, there's actually like a little, how do you even call it? A little, sponsorship with the company called Soap. And they basically were shoes that were meant for grinding. They had a little like a groove on the underside of it. And so you would basically use that to grind on rails, and that's what they try to market it as, the extreme sports era. And Sonic was very much an icon for that. God, and just looking at this, the gameplay, the momentum, everything, this is just everything about this game is just absolutely crazy and intense and fast, and that's what Sonic should be. This is what Sonic should be, in my opinion. Again, you have, the scene where they plant an explosive thing on the island. It's funny that this is probably the only game, when I think about it, where I've gone back to it, and some of the songs that I had listened to as a kid, I didn't like, but as I listened to them later, I actually really enjoyed them. And it's so interesting that there are songs that, as a kid I wouldn't like, but now I like later. It's if it's like a classical piece of music, it grows on you as you get older. And all the dialogue and scenes in this game, they just were so iconic for some reason. Like when Sonic meets Shadow, like, I found you, Faker. I don't know why they stand out so much, but they just do. There's something about them which are just, I don't know, so well made or so iconic. And again, like in the time I've been talking, like, it feels like so much has already happened in terms of gameplay and story. It's like everything's been cut just to be as fast and as intense as possible. And I'd like to see a return to these kinds of games where it's meant to be like beaten in like a day or two, but it's super, super memorable, and there's tons of stuff you can get back and go back and do. I think if you got A rank on every single level of this game, you actually unlocked an extra level for Sonic, which was Green Hill Zone, which is a 3D prototype of it, basically. I don't think I actually ever got it. I think I got stuck on a lot of A rank levels. I think it was the driving level. Oh my god, everyone remembers the driving level in this game because it was janky as hell. That was something that I would not be surprised if they decided to cut it from the final game, where you're Tails and Rouge, and you have to drive a car down this highway. And then there was also like a car racing game and multiplayer. Oh yeah, and this game had like competitive multiplayer, so you'd have these races where you'd spawn in a Sonic or Shadow and you'd race, and it would keep a tally of how many times player 1 or player 2 had like won or beaten them in a race. Or you could do a treasure hunt, or you could do a mech battle. And god, I remember like messing around in the mech things with my brothers and trying to like see if we can we were playing on the zero gravity level and trying to see if we can actually get to the top of the map or something by doing things like that. Actually, I think it was in Sonic Heroes. There was like a little multiplayer thing, I think. And we would just keep pressing A and homing attack each other until we made it to like the top of the level just to see if it was possible. And yeah, stuff like that. Oh man, so many good memories. Yeah, I know this game is like beyond classic. This is an absolute like gem / masterpiece. And I'm sure not everyone agrees, but to me, it absolutely is. This is what peak Sonic is all about. It's not that the story is fast, but the gameplay is fast as well. Everything's fast and just throwing information at you and characters and nuance and whatnot. And the story itself, I think it's pretty much amazing the way it unfolds. So I won't really spoil any of it or much of it. I will say though that the ending to this game, once you beat Team Hero and Team Dark, and you finally get to the point where you're ready to go into, the final kind of battle, the story and that whole process of Shadow and Sonic and with them kind of teaming up to take on the big bad it's amazing. It's honestly the coolest thing, and I love it. And the final fight in this game is probably one of the final boss fights, period, ever. It is the best. Just the best ending to a game that I've probably ever experienced. Again, it's crazy watching this. They already, they had like the giant, island explode and whatever, and now we're playing as Knuckles, and just like, yep, okay, that happened. Now over here, do you have ADD yet? Like, I love how fast everything is, and it just doesn't waste your time with anything. It just gets straight to the next thing. I don't know. I absolutely adore this game, and even watching it, I'm adoring it a little bit more, and that I wish we had something akin to this. I love how each character has their own distinct color and their own distinct personality. I think that's always a trope that I'm a sucker for. I remember in the multiplayer stages, you could also play as Amy and Metal Sonic. You could also play as, I think, for the Treasure Hunter, you could play as Tikal and someone else, I forgot. And then for the mechs, you had a couple of Chow mechs, a light Chow and a dark Chow. Yeah, I'd love to see the Chow make a return to this series. I think it's just something that's just missing, honestly. And I know people who specifically grinded just so that they could upgrade their Chow using the little sticks or the animal things, and depending on what you fed them, they would grow, and they would also take on the traits of the things you fed them, like literally like a mom simulator, which is pretty funny. But then you had things where, like, if you fed them, like, not feed them, because you end up they just absorb the energy. So if you gave one a bunch of rabbits, it would have rabbit ears suddenly, and then it would run fast. And then I think depending on the fruit you fed it, it would also become good or evil. I think of the friggin' stupid mobile game like Evil Baby, Good Baby. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. This has been done before, and Sonic Team just won't do it again for whatever reason. Again, I love the Knuckles stages because there's even like a musical consistency where Knuckles stages are all like kind of like R&B rap music. Sonic is all progressive rock. Tails is kind of, well, a mixture of rock and a bit of jazz, and Shadow is more, dark electronic industrial kind of rock, while Rouge is actually more so like swing jazz, and Eggman is more mechanical techno. So I love that there's distinct color, personality, and music. And of course, the famous Eggman speech is something that has become as iconic as the game, which I'm so happy for, because it's such a stupid scene. For those of you who know, you know the Snap Cube dub. It's absolutely. I can't watch this scene anymore without thinking about it. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Sonic Adventure 2. I cannot praise this game enough. It is, I think, required gaming just for everyone to experience it. This is, again, peak Sonic. And I really can't say much more than that. Actually, I will say something here. In this actual scene, I thought it was such a missed opportunity that this huge crater in the moon did not become a symbol of Sonic moving forward. And I was so peeved in the intro to Shadow the Hedgehog. He has the giant moon behind him, and they didn't acknowledge that it was like has a huge crater blown into it by Eggman in Adventure 2. They just didn't want to acknowledge that at all. It's like, well, you could say it was on the other side of the moon, but seriously, I think it was a huge missed opportunity to make something iconic about the Sonic universe, that when you look in the sky, there's like a moon with a huge like gash in it or something, or like a quarter moon missing. There's just so many things that they just could have taken from Adventure 2 that just aren't in the future. There's even one where like Tails makes a fake Chaos Emerald somehow, and Sonic can still use Chaos Control from it. There's all this cool lore and technology and stuff that they do in this game that they just do not bring up again. And, despite this game being as short as it was, I remember everything about it. And I think that's what game studios should aim to make. A game that is short but incredibly memorable. Oh my god. I'm just in love with this series because of this specific game. Anyway, I think I can't really praise this enough. It's really just kind of going down memory lane for me at this point. I'm not even telling you that, the game is good. It's like, it's a must play. And I guess that's all I can really say about it. One of the most Kino amazing games ever made. I absolutely adore it. I will see you guys later. Bye.